With no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, banking with Capital One is like the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like Taylor Swift choosing what to wear.
It's looking kind of chilly out today. I think I'll go with a cardigan.
Yep, even easier than that. And with our top-rated app, you can bank anytime, anywhere, making Capital One an even easier decision. That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
New consumer accounts only. Approval required. Terms apply. Capital One NA, member FDIC.
It takes thousands of hours to become an astronaut, right, Nina?
Oh, I'm not an astronaut. I'm a design consultant at the Container Store.
But you explore space.
I help you find space with our Alpha Closet systems.
And you're an expert.
Pretty good at it.
And you use satellites to communicate.
I'm doing more virtual in-home closet designs, but I wouldn't say...
We salute you, astronaut Nina, for helping us find space.
You're welcome.
The Alpha Sales Bonus is here. Earn up to $500 in credit now through February 7th at the Container Store, where space comes from.
Welcome to the Vibe Within podcast. I'm your host, Gab Cohen. Each week, we will connect through stories and conversations about wellness, yoga, addictions, spirituality, mental health, rituals, and everything in between. The goal is to transform our traumas into strengths to create the change we desire in our lives. My mission is to help others by shining awareness on real-life topics so we can learn new ways to heal physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Whatever you are going through in this moment, you are not alone, so let's connect and heal our vibe within.
This city won't spark the divinity within me. Alright. This city won't spark the divinity within me.
Hey guys, welcome back to the pod. I'm your host, Gab Cohen. If you're new around here, welcome. So I did take like a few weeks off of the podcast because I needed to take a little break. I needed to take a little breather. Nothing crazy, but as some of you know, I moved back to Florida in the beginning of January, and I feel like when we go through like a really challenging or intense transition, like moving cross country or just like any kind of, intense change in your life, it's natural for the body to kind of all of a sudden, like once the transition's done and you got through it, I think sometimes the body will like release all of these health issues all at once. And I was listening to a podcast the other day, and she was kind of talking about this, and it's interesting, like when those of us who are like going through like a sobriety, right, like you're getting sober, when you were drinking and doing drugs and stuff like that, you might have not even realized all of the health issues that you had because you weren't like aware, you weren't mindful of the body as much as you might become when you become sober. And when you become sober, that's when we become very hyper aware of how we feel physically, emotionally, mentally. So it's natural for a lot of health issues to kind of rise to the surface, level of your life, and then you have nothing to do but deal with it. So that's what happened for me, because when I was living in California, I was going through a really weird phase, living with someone I didn't necessarily want to live with, and I pushed through, and I got through it, and whatever. But I did talk about this already on the last episode or the episode before that, about Instagram breaks and stuff like that. But so I was going through kind of this phase where I was just putting my health on the back burner, like completely. Like, yeah, I was still healthy, but I wasn't really doing everything that I could to heal physically. Like, I didn't go to the doctor, I didn't get blood work done, I just put it all on hold because I was out in California and because I didn't have a doctor out there, and I was just like, you know what, like whatever, I'm fine. And I kept telling myself that I was fine, but deep down I knew that I wasn't fine. I knew that I needed to get blood work. I knew that I needed to get my, my hormones checked again because I have autoimmune stuff and Hashimoto stuff and blah, blah, blah. So, what happened was I powered through that intense time in California by, drinking hard kombuchas every night and self-medicating and, I still was healthy. I still ate vegan and went on hikes and stuff like that, but I wasn't healthy mentally. I felt very drained and around passive aggressive energy out there. So it took a toll on my autoimmune stuff, I think. And so when I got back to Florida and I was safe and feeling like, I got through that battle, got through that journey of traveling cross country with 2 cats, then all the health issues started to come up. And that's why I took a break from the podcast for a few weeks, because I realized that I have not only been in the worst Hashimoto flare-up that I've had in a year, but I've also realized that I think I have parasites. And I do have parasites. I know this for a fact because when I went to Bali and Thailand 2017 was the first time I went. I don't know why I said last year. I got sick there, and long story short, I was deathly ill, and I know for sure that's when I inherited some parasites. Anyways, so being home has made me be able to shift my focus on my physical health, and I'm on a parasite cleanse kind of protocol. I got a colonic the other day. I'm getting 2 more colonics, and if you've never gotten a colonic, I highly, highly recommend it. It is a fucking experience, let me tell you, and it's actually pretty enjoyable. I mean, not to sound gross, but I truly felt such a emotional and physical release, obviously. And the woman that I went to, she's been doing it for 30 years. She has a beautiful office out of her home. It was definitely an intimate kind of experience. It was just me and her, and I learned a lot about my body, and I was amazed with how much came out of my body. So I'm getting 2 more colonics because you're supposed to get a series of 2 or 3, and she was actually shocked and blown away with how much was coming out of my body and how my body was reacting to the therapy. She was like, wow, your body's just reacting very, very well. And I'm like, what does that mean? So yeah, I'm full of shit, both figuratively and literally now. But yeah, highly recommend it. So I guess that's just a perfect, caveat or segue to get into this episode. Not really, but I guess it does make sense because what I'm talking about today is trauma with relationships, and that can bring up a lot of shit. It can bring up a lot of shit, and it's crazy because as I'm cleansing and as I'm realizing, why my body is not working properly or functioning properly, and I'm cleansing deep, I'm on a very intense autoimmune kind of protocol diet, Hashimoto stuff, obviously the parasites. I have to be really careful with what I'm eating right now. My body can't even handle some vegetables and fruits because they have a lot of lectins in them. If you've never heard of high lectin kind of reactions, it's based on Dr. Stephen Gundry's book, The Plant Paradox. So if you're vegan and you're plant-based, not to go on a little tangent, but just real quick, if you're vegan and plant-based and you feel like you have a lot of inflammation and pain in your body, it could be high lectins in your body, which if you have leaky gut, if you have SIBO, if you have any digestion issues, having an overabundance of lectins can really create a lot of inflammation and just so many symptoms. It's fucking crazy. I will link it in the show notes so you guys can check it out for yourself. I'll try to remember to link the article. But all right, so let's get into this topic, which is it demisexuality or is it relationship trauma? Because as I'm cleansing and detoxing, I'm realizing that a lot of my past relationships are bubbling up to my mind. And I am really, really shocked that that's happening, because I thought that I was over a lot of these relationships like years ago. I'm talking, some of them are like almost 10 years ago. Some of them are 10 years ago. So, yeah, it's crazy what can happen when we start healing the physical, that the mental will start to like unravel like an onion, and all of these wounds are coming up and being opened up again, and you feel like your mind is just like playing tricks on you and making you remember these traumatic experiences and these memories, and it can be very, very daunting. And so that's what's been going on for me. And my cats are trying to come in right now. Come in or out. Choose in or out. All right, bye. Okay. So the mind will start playing tricks on you and making you feel like you're not over these relationships when, you know, you are mentally over them. It's been years. You've spent a lot of time, you know, healing and doing shadow work, and you never think about these people. But that's the interesting thing about when you heal the body, the mind starts to try and play catch up. So that's what this episode is going to be about. And the reason why I also wanted to make this episode is because I was on a Reddit subthread, Demisexuality, and there's tons of people in there, thousands and thousands of people. And that's what kind of inspired me to make this episode. This episode is going to resonate with literally everyone listening, because whether you're a male or a female, you have had some kind of relationship in your life have a layer of trauma, you know, like when we were like teenagers or in our early 20s or even late 20s or even 30s, like whatever, there's gonna be a relationship that happens in your life that causes you suffering. And it could be on both sides, it can be on one side. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through these like archetypal relationship trauma examples. And these stories are, you know, my personal stories, but they're not rare, because everyone in one way or another has experienced these archetypal experiences. So just fit yourself where it resonates, because, you know, sadly, I know at least one of them will fit your trauma experience. And it's sad, but it's true. And I think that that's why a lot of us in this day and age sit here, you know, and it's impossible for us to open up again to someone new, because swiping on an app, you know, can activate our body and our mind. And after years of toxic or abusive or manipulative relationships, it's very natural and easy to only see a person's toxic or manipulative, like fuckboy or fuckgirl qualities. You know, if you feel like you've been in the ringer, you know, you've been in one toxic relationship after the next, the spiritual like intuition of our bodies gets a lot stronger, and it can make you sense their trauma, their darkness, you know, and then a part of you will say, you know, please don't take any more chances with anyone. You know, like a part of your soul is like begging you to just not even take that risk. And it seems like these days it's really in trend to be like highly empathetic or intuitive, or, you know, everybody's a highly sensitive person, which, you know, is very true because we're all sensitive, but it's not that fun being a highly sensitive person, because a lot of my relationships that I'll, you know, be going through in this episode, not in crazy detail, but just to lay out, you know, is it trauma or is it demisexuality? A lot of my relationships, I feel, ended because I was too emotional, or I was too much, or I was sharing too much, or I was, you know, coming off as dramatic or needy or codependent, you know. And that's not a cute look, especially like when I was younger, like 20, 21, 22, like so I'm not, you know, going to be sharing all of these relationship archetypal situations playing the victim, because I definitely know that I played a role in some of these toxic dynamics as well, especially when I was, you know, heavily drinking and doing drugs and partying. I want to say almost every single guy I've been with has started, or, you know, our relationship or our fling or whatever has started on the foundation of drugs and alcohol. So, being highly intuitive, I feel, and my trauma has made me demisexual. And I'm gonna read the definition of demisexuality for you guys too. But basically, I'm unable to like be attracted to anyone if I know nothing about them. Like, if I don't know anything about them but their physical experience or their physical appearance, I'm not, you know, I can't open up to them or sexually, or I'm just not interested. But I used to be the complete opposite. You know, when I was in art school, I would fall for people just, you know, by their looks. There was one guy in particular, I won't say his name. He doesn't listen to this podcast, but whatever. I think I was 20. I was like 20, and he was like 28. And I was waitressing at this place in Fort Lauderdale. That's where I went to art school. And the minute I saw this guy, I just knew that we were going to have like a deep connection. And it's crazy because that time in my life, I really wanted to date / hook up with someone with dreads. Whatever, you know. This was like back in like 2000. I was 19, so this was like 2010. Yeah. So we instantly hit it off. We had mutual friends, and he was the son of an owner of the liquor store right down the street. So long story short, we ended up having like a pretty long fling. We would, you know, drink after work. I would go over there and like hang out with him all during his shift at the liquor store. I became really good friends with everyone there. Everyone that came into the liquor store kind of knew me as his girlfriend or side piece or whatever. But it was out in the open, you know, like it was out in the open that I was his kind of girlfriend or whatever. Like, we would hook up around people, you know, we would get super drunk at the liquor store. I was underage. It was so fun, you know. I would go there and like play music and meet all of his friends and just get super fucked up, which is what you do when you're 20 years old. And it's, you know, and it's funny because me and him we still communicate to this day. So it's been like 10 years, and we still meet up with each other if we're in the same city, or, you know, we'll link up, and we have hooked up a couple times, but I don't really enjoy it. Don't mind my cats, they're just like being wild. But that relationship or whatever with him did cause me a little bit of pain and trauma, because he didn't want to commit, and he was a big partier, and he would, not answer my texts, or he would go out and drink with like tons of girls. And he only wanted me around when he wanted me around. And I found out that he was kind of fucking around with other people when I was waitressing, and one of my coworkers who I was waitressing with, she was telling me, oh, there's this guy I'm talking to, blah, blah, blah. And it turns out that it was him. And I think I told him, and I confronted him, and he played it off like, what? She's crazy. Funny now, looking back, like it's kind of funny because we're adults now and because we still communicate, and but at the same time, he never looked at me as girlfriend material, I guess. But he's had girlfriends, and I've always been like, hey, how are you? Like, I hope you're doing well. And like, we're on that deep friendship level where, like, the last time that we hung out, I went to his place and we just like cuddled and like watched movies, and he made me dinner, and like, it was very adult, So if anything, that experience taught me, my boundaries, my self-worth, and all that. Let's see. I had a very traumatic experience in art school, just to start it from the beginning. I was sexually assaulted / raped in art school, and I haven't really talked about it on the podcast because I don't really want to put anybody on blast. I don't think anyone even listens to this podcast except for a few of my girlfriends from art school, but that really set the tone of my my mentality towards men, towards dating, towards sexuality. I went through a few, flings / short dating spurts in art school where I dated, guys who were like drug dealers and just super into drugs, and that was like how we trauma bonded, just by doing drugs. Very, very toxic, not healthy at all. But that led me to my first kind of what seemed like it was going to be healthy relationship, but it definitely wasn't. But this was my first kind of long-term relationship, and it started out as being friends with benefits with someone, and I'm not going to name him because if any of my art school friends listen to this podcast, they'll definitely know who it is. Megan, if you're listening, you know who I'm talking about. Anyways, so me and him started, being friends, and we really just clicked. We really just connected. We really just had that same interest in music, and he was funny, and we went out, and, I met all his friends, and he met all my friends, and then all of our friend groups just started to like mesh together. We did ridiculous shit, we really just all had such a good time. This was like our prime time partying phase. I'm talking 19, 20, 21, 22. And it got to the point where we were drinking so much. Like, everybody was just blacking out every single time we drank. There was no balance. It was just, if the house was drinking, we were all drinking and we were all blacking out, and it was going to be like a rager. So me and him, we really developed this strong friendship, and then it wasn't sexual for a very long time until it started to get sexual, and he was the initiator. He was the one who asked me if he could fuck me, and I said yes, and that's kind of what changed everything. I could tell that he liked me. I could tell that I liked him. It was obvious You know, we went to music festivals together, we traveled together, I started living with him at one point. He would let me use his car. He, you know, would go to concerts together. We slept in the same bed. I can go on and on. But it was friends with benefits. It was never, we never labeled it. He never labeled it. And so we would go out with friends, with all of our friends to the bar, and he would pretty much ignore me. And he would never show me affection in public, even though all of our friends knew that we were pretty much together. And, you know, even they thought it was very strange, and it was just not talked about. Like, it's almost like he was so afraid to admit that we were together, because I don't know if he was embarrassed of me or if he was just afraid to commit, but I lived there. I lived with him, and it was obvious. And he would only show me affection behind closed doors. So if we were like in his room by ourselves, he would cuddle with me and we would watch movies. And he was like a very strange character, though. Like, he didn't really know how to flirt. He was very, I mean, we were so young too, but he was very awkward and bizarre about the way that he would flirt and show affection to me. And it was very, very confusing and emotionally debilitating at times. So it got to the point where, I mean, months and months and months of this, and it really just started to bring the worst out of me. I started to resent him. I started to like really get snoopy and, you know, try to find if there's anybody else he was talking to, which I did find out that he was talking to his ex at one point, and we like went to California together to visit our friend, and it just so happens that he like cheated on me with her, whether it was physical or emotional or both. I don't really know, but he like apologized, and it was like all dramatic, and like we cried and had makeup sex, and that's how it was for months and months and months, and it was just mentally exhausting. So, you know, months of being not shown affection and feeling like I had to be hidden at certain times. But the weird part is, like, I actually met his family. I met his sister. His sister loved me. You know, his family really liked me. We went to music festivals, and like we've traveled together. It was just so weird, so fucking weird. When you're that young, it's very weird territory to be spending your life with someone in that way. But the sex stuff started to really take a toll on me, because it got to the point where on the weekends we would get so shit-faced drunk, all of us, and I feel like we would only have sex, you know, when we were like blacked out drunk. And it got to the point where in the morning it almost felt like I was being like low-key like morning raped. I don't know if that's even a term, but it wasn't rape. Like, I'm not saying it was rape, but it just felt very rapey, because it wasn't ever, there was never any talking or communication. It was just like he would wake up and just like roll over and like want to have sex, and I felt like I had to, because I was living with him. There's a lot of layers to this, but I know that there's probably tons of you guys who are listening right now who have been in a situation like this, and it is mentally and emotionally abusive to be in a dynamic like this. Long story short, the worst came out of me, and we started to get in like physical arguments. I started to like get super violent and angry because I couldn't take it anymore, and because he was gaslighting me and making me feel crazy and making me feel unworthy. And so I moved out, and he ended up going on like a big trip to like Brazil, and we just like slowly drifted apart, as you do, you know. And then I started dating somebody else. And this was like right after. This was like one after the other. I'm like not even kidding you. I met this guy my last semester of art school, and he was probably my most serious relationship for sure, because we were truly together. He really loved me. We I also ended up moving in with him pretty quickly. We did everything together. People looked at us as like the perfect couple. We were like super into each other. He was 2 years younger than me, so I was 21 and he was 19. But he was super mature for his age. His brother had committed suicide when he was younger. A lot of things. I ended up meeting his family. We ended up like going to New Jersey together, and like my friends from high school came and visited us and met him, and it was serious. Like, it was a serious relationship. Also, very, very built on drinking and partying and doing drugs. You know, we did opiates, we did coke, we did whatever was available. He was definitely a wounded person. He gaslit me a lot towards the end of our relationship. He manipulated me, and he was a narcissist, you know. He basically told me, hey, let's go to California with my brother. Let's go out there and like make it, you know, let's create a new life out there. So we had all these plans, and then all of a sudden he basically just said, I don't want to be with you anymore. I'm going to California. It's over, basically. And I found out that his brother got like a huge settlement of money from some accident, and then they were going to move to California together. This story gets crazier. So I knew that he was a narcissist because he got all of my friends that we shared to go against me, and that's like a classic narcissistic move. I was actually staying temporarily with one of our friends, and then when me and this guy broke up, she came up with some weird excuse saying that I couldn't live there anymore, but in reality, I think it was because she wanted to still be able to hang out with him, and she knew that if I was living with her, she wouldn't be able to hang out with him. It was very high school, very fucking... I was just like, is this high school again? Like, I don't feel like I am an adult. And I was seeing things clearly, and I was like, yo, this is fucking insane. The only friend of mine who was there for me was Megan, my best friend from art school, one of them at least. I just went to her wedding in October, and it was beautiful. And she knew, like, and I still text her to this day about some of these relationships, about the trauma that I've been through, and she knows all of it. She was there to see it all. So basically I still went to California. I still moved to California by myself, and I want to say like a few months in, I was at the Grove, and I was going down the escalator at Barnes & Noble, and I saw my ex. I saw him at the bottom level with some girl, and my heart dropped into my stomach, and I felt like I was going to collapse. And he didn't see me, but that happened. The last thing I'll say about this fucking crazy synchronistic LA shit is that I was dumb, and I still followed him on Instagram and looked at all of his shit, and he was posting like all this like, you know, bougie fucking dumb shit that him and his friends were doing, and with all this money that his brother won and whatever. And I was looking for an apartment. I was looking to sublet an apartment, and so I was on, you know, Craigslist, because there weren't really any more apps at that time. And basically, I don't know how this happens. Talk about the universe kind of fucking with you. So I found a Craigslist listing. I went to this girl's house, and when she said her name over email, I was like, oh, that's weird. That's one of my ex's friends' names. I'll just call her, Sarah. I was like, that's weird because he has a friend named Sarah that I see him with a lot. And I was like, there's no way it's her. I got to the place, she opens the door, and it is her, and I had to play dumb until I couldn't play dumb. And it was, oh my God, you guys. I was like, how is this happening right now? And I truly felt like she was going to go tell him, your ex-girlfriend is stalking you and wants to live with me or some shit. But I don't think she did. But, we did figure out that I was his ex, and oh my God, small world. Wow, that's so crazy. And I was like, yeah, don't tell him this happened. I'm really trying to like focus on myself and do my own thing and whatever. And who knows, maybe she did tell him, maybe she didn't. I don't really care anymore. But that relationship really wounded me, and I would say that was the most intense breakup I've ever been through because of how narcissistic and how it was ended. And so I don't know about you guys, but it seems like the older I get, the more of a tomboy I become. But at the same time, no matter how tomboyish I feel, I still need quality makeup, and I definitely still want to feel glammed up, especially during the holidays. Even if you're alone this holiday season, it doesn't mean you have to just hang out in your pajamas. You can still dress up, you can still put on makeup and feel good about yourself. Thrive Cosmetics is a new beauty brand that I discovered, and they have high performance award-winning products that are both vegan and cruelty-free. And as you guys know, I'm vegan, so that's kind of important to me. I don't want to be putting, products that have come from an animal on my face. It just, I don't know, just kind of grosses me out when I think about it. But I like to keep it simple, especially since I'm still healing my hormonal acne. And what I do love to do is always enhance my eyes, because it always makes me feel good when I just put in a little bit of effort into my eyes. And a lot of you guys have actually commented on some of my pictures of my eyes. I've always been obsessed with mascara. I've always been a mascara junkie. So when I found Thrive Cosmetics, I was really, really happy with the mascara they have. It's the award-winning mascara, and a lot of the holiday sets right now actually come with a free tube of it. It's called the Liquid Lash Extensions Mascara, and honestly, this mascara it's bomb. I mean, I think the main thing with mascara is that the brush needs to be legit, and this is like a really, really nice brush, and what it basically does is it makes you look like you're wearing kind of fake lashes, but they look natural. They're flake-free, smudge-free, clump-free. I love it. The packaging is really nice and sleek. And I also like the Brilliant Eye Brightener, which is really, really easy to use. It makes such a huge difference just by putting it in the corners of your eyes, and it just brightens up your entire eye. And that's all I've been using recently is just the eye brightener and the mascara. If I'm just like running errands, or if I'm going to the grocery store or whatever, this is a very simple way to brighten up and enhance your eyes. So if you're a mascara junkie like me, definitely give Thrive Cosmetics a try, because you will absolutely love it. And with every purchased product, Thrive Cosmetics is helping women in need to thrive by donating funds and products. I really like that. I feel like we need to be more mindful of where we're putting our money and our energy. So start thriving and help women in need today by going to thrivecosmetics.com/vibe for 15% off of your first purchase. That's Thrive, CAUSEMETICS.com/vibe for 15% off. Thrivecosmetics.com/vibe.
With no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, banking with Capital One is like the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like Taylor Swift choosing what to wear.
It's looking kind of chilly out today. I think I'll go with a cardigan.
Yep, even easier than that. And with our top-rated app, you can bank anytime, anywhere, making Capital One an even easier decision. That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
New consumer accounts only. Approval required. Terms apply. Capital One NA, member FDIC.
Oh, if you're resonating with this and you've been through a toxic kind of traumatic way of ending a relationship like that, and your friends turned against you, and you know, you had plans for the future and then they just drop you. That's the energy of those types of breakups, is like they just drop you in the trash and they just like they easily forget about you. Oh my God, there's another synchronicity that happened, that when I was working at this fashion store in Hollywood in Larchmont, one of my clients, she was a dancer and she dances in music videos, and she said to me, "Oh yeah, I was in a music video last weekend. It was at this mansion and it was weird and whatever." She showed me pictures and it was for my ex's brother, the guy who won all the settlement money because he was trying to be a musician. And I was just like, this is fucking insane. Like, I don't know what the universe was trying to do, but it just you can't even make that shit up. And LA is such a big city that it's like, I don't know, I just feel like that was my spirit guides really, really fucking with me, like really, really truly fucking with me. And it just was an ongoing process to really heal from that relationship, and it did take me a while, but I did get through it. So you can kind of sense this common thread of patterns and cycles going through these relationships. It's easy to notice when you're looking back in hindsight, but when you're in it, it's really challenging to see clearly and to get yourself out of those dynamics because you're just stuck, you know? What helped me get through that terrible, terrible breakup and that transition to California was yoga. One of my clients was, you know, tired of hearing me bitch and complain about this breakup, tired of hearing me talk about how I gained weight from drinking and from self-medicating, right? And she was like, you know what? You need to go do some hot yoga and sweat it the fuck out and move on. Her name was Amore, and she was this like older, powerful black woman, just like super like always wearing like patterns and very like out there, and she was like obsessed with Bikram yoga. She actually brought me to my first Bikram yoga class. Oh my God, there's just so many memories of California. I was so young and I was just a sponge. I met so many people out there, and I think it's because I just said yes to everything, you know, and now things are so much different. Like I'm so blocked. I'm so kind of tainted and bitter from all these relationships that, you know, it has kind of been that gateway to demisexuality. I just realized that I never read the definition for you guys, and I apologize for that. I just kind of got super into that, the first kind of archetypal scenarios, but I'm going to look it up right now. Demisexuality definition. But I'm kind of glad that I went into it first with a couple scenarios and experiences, because now you can kind of paint a picture as to why someone could be demisexual. So I think that that's actually perfect. So it says demisexuality is a sexual orientation where people only experience sexual attraction to folks that they have close emotional connections with. In other words, demisexual people only experience sexual attraction after an emotional bond has formed. So, like I said in the beginning, I wasn't like this in art school, but each scenario and each experience that I went through that left a sexual scar or a sexual wound or some kind of trauma, little by little I started to be very skeptical with men. And by the time I was, 27, yeah, because my last relationship, my most recent relationship ended in 2017, January, I guess, on and off, but yeah, 2017. So I've been single for 4 or 5 years. Yeah, 4 years. And I just feel like this sexual orientation is how I've been living without realizing it, because I can't find attraction to someone who I don't know anymore. It's just there's no energy within me to spark that interest, because a big part of me just sees their trauma, sees their darkness, again, sees it. It's almost like I have spidey senses for it. And being a yoga teacher also has helped, because with body language, with eye contact, with facial expression, with the way that somebody is presenting themselves physically and with their words, I can tell. I can basically tell if they're hiding skeletons in the closet. Let's just put it that way. So, I don't know where else to go with this. Okay, there was a guy I dated in Miami. If any of my Miami friends are listening, you probably know who I'm talking about. I only had one boyfriend there. And it was a fixer-upper relationship. He never had his shit together. He was always going through drama and trauma and trials and tribulations and roommate drama and work drama and, being broke drama and daddy issues, and it was just a fucking mess. He ended up moving in with me very quickly. Again, this is the pattern. This is the pattern that I lived for several relationships that I feel ruined them, because it just created a resentment energy between both of us, or one-sided, doesn't matter, but moving too quickly is not healthy. We would fight, we would have insane fights, but I will say that was the relationship that did have the best sex, in the beginning at least. It got to the point where he was, manipulative, he was gaslighting me, he was basically slut-shaming me when I was not a slut. I was a yoga teacher that drank sometimes. I was a bartender. We met at the same restaurant that we worked at, so he would get jealous almost when I was bartending and waitressing and whatever. He was a cook, I was a waitress, typical fucking dumb fucking rom-com shit. I did love him. I did. And he, I think, loved me, but it got to the point where our relationship was toxic and just, the bad outweighed the good. We had way more bad nights than good nights. And then I just stopped having a sex drive. I stopped wanting to have sex with him, blah, blah, blah. We break up. I go to Thailand. I get parasites. It was that trip that I got parasites and got deathly ill. Came back. I ended up flying back to Florida on Valentine's Day, because the whole time that I was in Thailand, even though I was there, even though we were breaking up, he was still living with me, and he was holding down the fort at my house. So I guess we weren't really broken up, but we were broken up, but he made me feel like shit the whole time that I was in Thailand. He tried to ruin my trip, basically, and guilt shame me, and, he said some really hurtful shit. And that's when I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm going to enjoy myself. I had a really fun time. I went on a yoga retreat. I went to Bali with my best friend. It was fucking amazing. And then he made me feel like I was going to come home to a lot of drama and fighting. And he said, if you don't fly back by Valentine's Day, it's over. You're not gonna be happy to be here. Like, he threatened me, and he completely just manipulated me. And I was like, you know what, shut the fuck up. Like, all right, I'll fly back on Valentine's Day. Like, flights are actually super cheap anyways, so fuck it. And that was like a fun trip, because I remember like flying on Valentine's Day. It was kind of interesting, and I remember I had a really, really long layover, and it was in Qatar, and they actually put me up in a hotel for free and gave me like a free buffet pass, and the hotel was like super fucking nice, and I took a bath and I listened to podcasts. It was really nice. And then I was like, fuck, now I have to go back to this fucking motherfucker in Miami and break up with him and get him out of my house. The reason why I'm explaining this scenario is because we deal with so much toxic shit, and when I went on that trip, I took a large lens and a large step back, and I was like, ew, like, why would I want to deal with, like, I'd rather be single forever than be in a relationship with someone like that. And I would say that relationship really took a toll on me as well, and made me continue to be bitter and see men in this like dark light and darkness, and like it didn't end there. I hooked up with a couple people in Philly, and both of them ghosted me. Both of them were into drugs and drinking. The cycle just continued. The one that I went through in Philly was really fucked up as well, because I basically became homeless in Miami because a real estate agent fucked me over, stole my money, blah blah blah. I've talked about it on the podcast. And long story short, I went to Philly to live with this guy who I had met like a month before at Envision, and we really hit it off. We had mutual friends from high school, blah blah blah. Just so happens to be that he's a big drug dealer. He's a drug addict, does drugs from morning to night. It was traumatizing. I would say that was probably the most traumatizing relationship that I've been in, even though it wasn't a relationship. It was like a month fling. Because of the way that he treated me towards the end. At first, he was like obsessed with me, and then towards the end, he stonewalled me and got super cold and stopped talking to me when I was living with him. The sex was the worst sex I've ever had in my life. And I remember when his brother came over one time. This is when I knew that something was weird. His brother came over, and he saw me there, and he was like, "Oh shit, you're still here?" And I was like, yeah, I'm like living here temporarily, and I'm finding an apartment. Like, I live here. And it was that moment where I was like, oh wow, like there's something fucked up here. That relationship or fling also was very traumatizing, because I relapsed really, really intensely on drugs and alcohol. I was doing coke every day for like, a month or two. And it was just a very, very dark time. I would say that was probably the darkest time of my life, when I was like couch surfing in Philly, left my life in Miami where I was teaching because I became homeless. I had to put all my shit in storage. I had to give my cat to my mom. I was just living in Philly I was like, what is going on? Like, I had money saved up, but I was homeless. I was drinking, doing drugs, blah, blah, blah. So that was a really tough one to get over too, because he, just like the other one, he tossed me away like garbage and just pretended I didn't exist. It was really fucked up. It really it traumatized me in the way of, I'm never opening up again. I am never going to give a guy the benefit of the doubt again. I felt like any guy who came into my life after that was just gonna fuck me over, and I was right, because the next guy that I hooked up with did. We were friends from we worked in the same area. He would flirt with me all the time. We ended up hooking up, and then a few weeks later we were supposed to go on a date, and he ghosted me, and he never showed up, and he never texted me or called me. And it was 4th of July weekend, and I decided to dip and go to New York and take the bus to New York and go see my friend Val from art school who lives in New York now. It was so fucked up, you guys. I was like that, and that was the last time that I like hooked up with someone, like that I had sex with someone. And this was the summer of 2019. And that's why I'm celibate now, and that's why I'm demisexual now. So to kind of, tie this all in together, is it demisexuality or is it trauma? I think it's a little bit of both. I think people who are demisexual could become demisexual because of a history of relationship trauma. I also feel like you can have phases of demisexuality. I feel like you can have a phase where you're just like not into anyone, and every time you swipe someone on a dating app, you can just see the toxic, manipulative qualities in them. You can just tell by like their pictures, by what they're sharing, by, especially on Hinge, you can definitely tell people's personalities because of the prompts that they have. You can tell if somebody is condescending, you can tell if somebody is narcissistic, you can tell if somebody is a big drinker, you can tell if somebody is super egotistical and only worried about body, or you can tell if somebody's like full of themselves. You can definitely tell. So I feel like we all as a collective have this like heightened and strengthened way of viewing people, and it is connected to trauma and past relationships, because we go in these new relationships with a lens that's connected to our past. And like demisexuality can also be, I feel like some of the younger generation, like Gen X or whatever's before millennials, I feel like a lot of that generation is demisexual because of social media, maybe. I don't know, but I feel like you can teeter-totter between, just being demisexual and not. But I definitely feel like in my case, trauma and toxic relationships has been the catalyst to me being demisexual. I have no desire to let someone in who I know nothing about. And that's my own shit. That's my own shadow. That's my own blockages right now. That's my own rut. But I am trying to integrate, and I am trying to be a little bit more open and trustworthy. And I wanted to, as I'm closing out this episode, I wanted to read you guys something from this subreddit about the demisexuality, because I wrote, I made a post on it, basically, and I was just like, I don't know what to do, if this is trauma, if this is, like, what is happening here? Am I demisexual, or is this trauma, And someone commented a very, very long and detailed answer, and I was just like, wow, thank you, you know. So I want to share a little bit what this person shared here. They said, one thing that might help you figure stuff out is to just look at some public group where there's no dating focus at all and see how you feel. If every person you see in public looks like a narcissist or an abuser, that's probably your trauma talking. If most of the general public seems okay, but 90 to 95% of the profiles you see on some sites have red flags or things that make you feel uncomfortable trying a date, that could well be reality given your needs and your triggers and social norms for dating apps and sites. So I think that's a really, really smart way of looking at it, because if you're like out at the grocery store, like this was the first thing that I thought of. Okay, you know, I'm going to take this girl's advice, and when I'm out at the grocery store, am I looking around at the men there and being like, oh my God, what a toxic piece of shit, or he's probably a narcissist, or he's probably an abuser? No, I'm not doing that. I do feel for people when I'm out in the wild, you know. I try to be nice to people. I try to see that other people are suffering, you know. I think that's what it comes down to, is that we're all kind of suffering. But when we're on the dating apps, there's a sexual energy there. It's sexually charged. So when you're on a dating app, you're already influenced with this sexual energy that people are expecting of you, right? Because people go on there expecting to meet someone, expecting to fuck someone, expecting to go on a date with someone. And so it can be a very triggering and activating place to be. So when you're in that energy of like, oh, this guy is just on here to like have sex with someone or meet someone, or like look at him talking himself up, look at him and look at his profile, and you know, then all the trauma starts to come out and be like, nope, remember that relationship? That guy reminds you of him. And all of these past experiences rise up and bubble up, and then as you're flipping through these profiles, you start connecting the dots, you start connecting these past dudes with these dudes in front of you on your phone, and you start looking at them as if, you know, they're just a new version of someone who's traumatized you in the past. And I think that there's something to be said there, that when you're on dating apps, if you are still really processing past relationships that have traumatized you, it can create more trauma in your body and in your mind, because then it's going to make you angry, it's going to make you uncomfortable, it's going to make you pissed, it's going to make you rethink about memories and traumatic experiences that you thought you were over, just by, you know, seeing some guy's profile on Hinge, you know. And it's debilitating, because then you just go through all these profiles, and then you're just like, you know, all men are evil, all men are abusers, all men are emotionally, you know, narcissistic and manipulative, and all the good guys aren't on dating apps. Like, these are the stories that I tell myself. And I know that these stories and these perspectives are, you know, not true, and they are distorted. But this is the work. This is the inner work of our generation, you know. A lot of us are going through trauma. A lot of us are still processing and healing from those traumatic experiences and relationships and sexual trauma. And, you know, take your pick. Whatever story I told you about all these guys that I've been involved with in the past, whichever one resonates with you, you could very well still be processing that mentally, physically, and it's easy to get triggered and reactivated. So, you know, like, take it slow. Integration these days is not the same as it used to be, because we can't just, depending on where you live, you can't just go out and meet people in the wild as easily. I actually just got a gym membership to Crunch Gym. It's not the nicest gym, but it's the reason why I did it is because I need to get out of my comfort zone, even though I know how to work out at home, even though I don't necessarily need to have a gym membership. I did it anyways because I need to put myself in social atmospheres. Even if I go to the gym, I don't talk to anybody. Like today I went and I didn't talk to a single person. You know, whatever. Like not everybody's like hanging around talking to people. Like some people have masks on, some people don't. It's Florida. You know? I go there, I do my thing. It's like a ritual. It's nice to just like be around other people. It's nice to like see other people. And I know that I'm going to work my way up to feeling comfortable to maybe do, you know, weights on the floor, because right now I'm not in any way, shape, or form ready to do that because I have basically a panic attack every time I walk through the gym just to get to the locker room. And every time that I have to walk upstairs to the cardio machines, I also have like a panic attack because I feel like everybody can just sense that I'm uncomfortable or that I am, you know, up in my head, or I'm just anxious. Like I when you deal with anxiety and ADHD, you can feel like everyone senses how uncomfortable you are. But I was talking to my friend Kevin, who I went to my friend Megan's wedding with, and he was like the best wedding date. He's my friend from Philly. I'm actually trying to get him to come on the podcast, but he's super dope, and I can be completely open with him and honest. And he was like, yeah, but you gotta think, like, the guys that are in the gym, you know, they're also going through a lot, and they also could be like, wow, you know, like, there's like beautiful women around me. Like they could be feeling intimidated and anxious as well, because we've all been kind of going through this isolation for almost a year now. I know that Florida is different, and a lot of the bars and lounges and stuff like that are open, which is why I moved back. You know, and it's not like I got the gym membership because I think, oh, maybe I'll meet the one there. Like, there's absolutely no fucking way that I'm gonna meet my person there. But I could meet friends, you know, I can meet someone, I can meet a guy who is just a friend. I have a lot of guy friends, and that's the thing with trauma too. I think it's interesting because I do have a lot of guy friends. And I know how to have solid masculine friendships, but when it comes to romantic, I feel like a child. I feel like I'm an adolescent. I feel like I'm stuck and frozen in the past. I feel like I have no idea what to do anymore. I'm just a wounded little girl who's been fucked over by all these men, and it's not just their fault, it's also my fault, you know. Drugs, alcohol, all these things played a part, and I played a part in it as well. So, you know, if you're going through a toxic relationship or a dynamic that is similar to any of these scenarios that I have laid out, these archetypal romantic relationship scenarios, I feel for you, and I hope this episode just could help you not feel so alone and kind of paint a picture of how these cycles and these patterns can weave into your life, because it's obvious that I've been going through the same patterns for over a decade, and now I'm finally, you know, for the last year and a half, yeah, like since 2020, so like a year, I've really said to myself, enough is enough. And I've come to terms with that. If I'm single forever, so be it. I am happy, you know, being able to live my life in a way that feels nourishing. Like, I'm able to do this podcast. I have my 2 cats who are always cuddling with me, and that makes me happy. You know, I'm focusing on my health. And what we have to remember, guys, is that when we're in relationships that are toxic, they can drain you, and they can take your own personal power away from yourself, and they will make you forget that you have to take care of your health, your physical body. You'll put your needs away, and you'll forget that you have to take care of yourself. You'll be so wrapped up in it that, you know, you're wrapped up in the drama and the trauma, that then all these health issues start to hit you. You know, you have to think about that as well. What's more important, being with someone and having sex, or being alone, being single? You know, like, we have to really weigh out the pros and cons at this point, because everything has changed and we're going through a huge paradigm shift, and it's time to really heal our past, let go of the traumatic experiences that we've been through. And in order to do that, we really have to be true to ourselves and not settle, and not keep living these same cycles and patterns. And it's easier said than done, you know, but it really does require a stepping back, a drawing away from, a complete reset, you know. So I hope this episode helped you. I really do. And I'd love to hear any stories that you guys have. You can feel free to email them to me if you feel like this episode resonated with you and you'd like to share an experience or something like that. My email's in the show notes. It's just gabbcohen@gmail.com. Feel free to email me, and follow me on Instagram, GabLoveFlow, and unsubscribe to my YouTube channel, where I do tarot readings and energy readings for the collective and all that. I'll link everything in the show notes. My Etsy is still full of virtual online yoga classes, from, you know, core strength to power yoga to yin yoga, restorative yoga, meditations, all the things. So yeah, if you're struggling, meditation, my meditation course is also on there, full of guided meditations, binaural beats, and journaling prompts and writing prompts. So check that out if that resonates with you. I'm going to leave you with the rest of this song by Matt Bellina, and I hope that we'll connect soon. Bye.
This city once sparked a divinity within me. Alright. This city once sparked a divinity within me. Alright. But now there's only ashes and gloom as I melt alone in this hotel room. No appetite, but a starving mental fight. No appetite, but I got a starving mental fight. It's crazy, I found myself and lost myself all in one whole night. truly move on. Without the attachment or expectation of a certain outcome.
With no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, banking with Capital One is like the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like choosing Charles Barkley in a pickup game.
We'll take Barkley.
Ha! First pick. Sorry, kids.
Yep, even easier than that. And with our top-rated app, you can bank anytime, anywhere, making Capital One an even easier decision.
Okay, here's the plan. Pass me the ball every time.
This is banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
New consumer accounts only. Approval required. Terms apply. Capital One NA member FDIC.
It takes thousands of hours to become an astronaut, right, Nina?
Oh, I'm not an astronaut. I'm a design consultant at the Container Store.
But you explore space.
I help you find space with our Alpha Closet systems.
And you're an expert.
Pretty good at it.
And you use satellites to communicate.
I'm doing more virtual in-home closet designs, but I wouldn't say...
We salute you, astronaut Nina, for helping us find space.
You're welcome.
The Alpha sales bonus is here. Earn up to $500 in credit now through February 7th at the Container Store, where space comes from.